is. Hi, hey fellas, what's up?
What's up, Britt?
What's up, y'all?
Okay, so Britt's
Hey, Paul.
in Austin with the picture of Bo Diddley standing with what looks like Jimmy Vaughn, but it probably isn't. I don't know who the guy
It's
is.
the Clash.
Oh, it's standing with the Clash. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were keeping it Texas just for 1 second, just for a minute. Paul, where are you?
In Panama.
Where? At your mom's house?
Panama. I'm in Panama.
Oh, Panama. Oh shit! Look at that. I'm at the Jersey Shore.
I'm going to be in the Jersey Shore in like a week.
Are you? Oh yeah, I know that. I know. For some reason, I thought that was tonight, but it's a week from now. They wanted me to come down and interview you guys in person, and then they didn't have the budget for it.
Oh,
is that what happened?
Apparently, I was like, I'm totally down to go, but you guys would have to like give me a hotel or something. They're like, they said, let's see, and they're like, nah.
Wow.
No, I don't actually. I don't know. I think actually this is the only time that it could physically work between the three of us. But I was kind of. I did have a.
This is the Matador podcast, right? Okay, I'm here.
Welcome to the Matador Revisionist History podcast, the label's history told by the artists themselves. My name's Matt Sweeney, and I'm going to walk you through this episode. I guess that means I'm the host. Okay, August 20th, 2002 was a big day in Matador's history, and it was a big day in the history of two bands, Interpol and Spoon, because on that day, 20 years ago, Interpol released their debut album, Turn on the Bright Lights, and Spoon released their Kill the Moonlight LP, and nothing was ever the same for either band. 20 years later, I got to talk to Britt Daniel of Spoon and Paul Banks from Interpol at the same time, and we got to look back on these records and talk about life. It was a pretty fun conversation, as I've known Britt since his first tour with Spoon, and I've known Paul since Turn on the Bright Lights came out. Interpol have just released their Turn on the Bright Lights Era Black EP, and that's on streaming services. And Spoon has just released a limited white vinyl edition of Kill the Moonlight. The bands are gonna tour together, co-headlining style, in North America as we tape this episode. Britt and Paul, I'm grateful that you joined us. Let's get into it.
So what we're here to talk about, you gentlemen, is Britt and Paul 20 years ago. I think I don't know if it's like to the day or some shit, or right around now, 20 years ago, both of you guys released records on the same day, on the same label. Is that correct?
On Saturday, yeah, the 20th.
The 20th, on Saturday. All right. This is
I did
exciting.
not realize that it was the same day.
Yeah, dudes. It's crazy.
Wow.
And also it's fun because since I've known both of you guys for Britt, I've known you much longer than that, and Paul, I've known you that long, which is really makes me feel really happy. Glad. Think about all our friends who aren't with us, and we're still here, and I'm glad that you guys are still playing music. And I'm also really impressed that you guys are still like in bands. I mean, like in the same. You have the same marriage. You're both playing with the same amazing drummer that you've been playing with the whole time. That's fucking sick. So I just want to commend you guys for doing for being around. Seriously.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's cool. So did you guys know each other back then?
That's a nice point. Thank you, Sweet.
Oh yeah.
Did we know each other? When did we meet? I know we toured together in like 05?
05. 2005 on you were on Antics, I think, and I was on Gimme Fiction.
So
that's how I remember the years.
So does that mean that Lombardi gave me improper notes when he said that you guys toured together that very summer that it came out? Is that possible, or is Lombardi?
No,
he's conflating things.
We met that summer.
You met that summer. Okay.
Very, very briefly, like for, I don't know, 3 minutes.
Where?
At your show.
In Austin?
No. Lombardi does know this. I want to say.
Oh,
I want to
oh.
say it was like
No, he said Mercury Lounge or some shit like that. Or
No,
some-
it was
Mercury.
crazy.
Is that what it was?
Luna Lounge, I think.
Luna Lounge. Yes. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I was in New York for. I was just there hanging out with some friends for a week, and you happened to be playing right then, and I had just gotten the record. I guess it was in advance of it. I'm guessing, because I don't think the records were out yet. But yeah, and we just talked briefly about it. I told you I liked it.
I remember, Britt, did Chris come at you with the Interpol record? Like, you got to check this record out?
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did that to me too, which he doesn't often do. And I remember we were at a friend's house who, like, he like made sure that we were at a friend's house who had a rad stereo system and stuff, and put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in maximum Lombardi mode for that record.
Yes, he was indeed. He totally was. That's funny. Luna Lounge is, I'd say that's kind of like a really big missing link. I don't know. I mean, a lot of shit went down there, by the way, just as a side note, because wasn't it, I mean, that, like, I saw so many bands there, and I had a really nice staff. And that's also, I think, where Elliott Smith was like, was a constant for about a year. He sat at that bar writing. Does anybody remember this?
I hung out with Abel Ferrara there.
Yeah.
Had a wild night.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
really
the
good.
little room
They
in the
knocked the
back.
whole place down. Yeah, the room in the back was like a really good room. And they knocked they just raised that whole building. It's like,
Ooh.
yeah, it's not there.
Remember Arlene's Grocery around the corner?
That's still there.
Get out. Seriously?
It's for real, and it's still Arlene's Grocery, and it's like, it's the only place that's still the same there. It's kind of interesting that a lot of times the grimiest places don't change, and all the other places do. So both of you guys had records coming out, and Paul, it was your first record, and Britt, you had kind of been around the block. In fact, I think I was with you on your first tour, Britt, right?
Yeah, 96.
Yeah, in 96.
That was our first album, first tour.
And then, and my understanding is with Kill the Moonlight, you were free because you were working as another label. What happened? Like there was some I did I did some research about the context of what that record was, and my understanding was that you were kind of more free to do what you wanted or something like that, or was it what was going on with you as a, at that point, fairly seasoned person? Then I'm going to get to you, Paul.
Well, it was our fourth album. We fortunately were never in a position where the label was telling us what to do. Even when we were briefly signed to Elektra,
Right.
We made the record first and then sold it to them.
I see.
Which made it even more, kind of flabbergasting when they put it out and then immediately dropped it because they knew what they were buying.
Oh, that's crazy.
But but we had our first sort of little glimpse of success with the record before the third album, Girls Can Tell, and that came out in early 2001. And I said, well, we got to start while I can spot this. We got to put another record out as soon as possible. So I worked, as hard as I could to get another record out, and we got one out in 2002. It took a bit of effort, but it happened.
And then, was that record the first record that you started using keyboards and percussion in a more major role? Is that what was going on?
Girls Can Tell was first one with a lot of keyboards,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then this one, and Girls Can Tell was sort of more like we were trying to push as far as we could into like oldies radio and sort of Motown, and so when we started working on Kill the Moonlight, it was a reaction to that. We wanted to do something that was a little weirder and scrappier, and so we ended up with a record that was kind of like an album of new wave demos,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of songs that are scrappy and didn't have any drums, whatever stand-in, like a beatbox or whatever it was the stand-in for the drums. Some of the songs had drums,
Right.
but it was just a little weirder record than the one before.
And did you have things like, you referenced the Iggy album or the Iggy song rather. Did you have that kind of feel in mind as well, or was that?
Yeah, I was going through a real Iggy phase right then, and he got. I think there's one song where there's 3 Iggy songs mentioned.
Yeah,
just kind of dropped. I think I was that one was written. That was Way We Get By, and that was like the last song written for the record. And we were recording the next week, so the lyrics got written like that. So the more phrases I had, that I could just drop another EP title.
Right.
We get high in back seats of cars. We break into mobile homes. We go to sleep to shake a pill. Never wake up on our own. And that's the way we get by. So the way we get by. Oh, that's the way we get by. So the way we get by.
Were you just in the swing of being a working band, a touring band, a record making band, and sort of rolling with those punches? Were you feeling that way when as that in the context of this record? I'm trying to set up a contrast here with you and Paul, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was the first. Those two records, the third and fourth, were the first time we could go out and like not lose money on the road.
Right.
And so we did start doing it a lot right then.
Right.
Till the Moonlight was it was another big step up from Girls Can Tell, and we were enjoying that we could go out and people would show up.
Right. So Paul, what was going on with you guys? I think even though we were hanging out a lot, particularly around the time that this record came out, I'm excited to find out what the sort of windup was to. Or I mean, you've been a band for 3 years, right? By the time this record came out.
Dude, I think 5 years. I think
Damn.
We were probably or maybe it was. Maybe we didn't have Sam until 3 years prior. But me, Daniel, the original drummer, and Carlos have been working since I think like 97 or 98 latest.
Okay, so Carlos was the drummer at first.
No, Greg Drudy was the drummer at first.
Oh, okay. All right.
Carlos Denker, the bass player.
All right, yeah. I got excited. I thought you were like the original drummer was Carlos. Okay, so you've been playing with Sam for 3 years, and
Or 4, yeah.
And how long did you work on the record, recording wise?
We were writing songs from the beginning, since when I joined in 97, there was already some songs in the works, like PDA, they already had like a skeleton of the music. And then we wrote everything up until we recorded, I guess, in spring of 2002. I think we were still writing, like Leif Erikson was probably one of the final things that we finished writing right before the record. So writing that whole time and then weeding out, the weaker songs and sticking with the kind of like, a batch. And I think we just didn't have label interest for the longest part. So we played venues, we just did shows, kind of, I think had a really good amount of time to sort of live in these songs and, really like work them.
Right.
In a way, that was probably the most lived in of all of our records, because a lot of it is like 4-year-old songs.
Yeah, and then also because I mean, when I first started her, I had been out of New York. I wasn't in New York for like the 2 years leading up to your first album coming out, so I wasn't really aware of what venues you were playing or what was going on with your band. But I'm interested in the fact that you said that there was no label interest, but you continued to excitedly play as a band, and I guess keep on digging what you were doing more and more. Was that kind of a vibe, as far as just being like, all right, we're doing this thing, and maybe people don't get it yet, but we're going to keep on, we're going to double down on it in a way, and just
I feel like, totally. That was there wasn't any idea about quitting because this isn't working, we should change. I think we were doing something that felt really authentic, and I remember feeling at the time that persistence is worth a lot, and that we had the core talent, like members, where we could do some dope shit sometime, and then stick with it. That was like, I had that certainty.
There's a feeling that holds up, because I listened to the record today, and I was struck by it the first time that Chris played it for me, and this thing. It's cool to hear you say that, because I felt that there's a sound of like four people working together who really trust each other and trust they're going to, by God, make something happen within these elements. Like, dude's gonna like that drum beat is sick. I'm gonna come up with a cool thing that's gonna go with that, and like that. There was a really huge degree of kind of consideration between the members, you know, and that's also kind of jumping back to what Spoon does, Britt. There's like you and Jim have this really deep relationship. There's the rhythm versus vocal thing is really kind of striking in both with both bands. I feel like where there's always a very, very strong rhythmic element with often a vocal that's almost contrapuntal to it, or trying to figure out the coolest way to negotiate the other thing. Paul, have you made an album before?
No. I just want to just chime in a little bit regarding that bands playing off each other. We're saying that.
Yeah.
That Kill the Moonlight, which I revisited today, it's so good. There's just this unbelievable allocation of space. I think that you guys, you're so tasteful, and like the puzzle pieces are not only just sort of dynamically perfect. There's like this minimalism to it always. I don't know. It's just very poetic with this like economy that I feel like I'm always struck by, like how much I enjoy every little nuance that's being introduced. And then on the rhythmic tip, I was thinking about I think it sounds like you guys recorded like a delay and then flipped it so that leading up to like vocal delivery, there's like a
yeah. We did a lot of that flipping of the tape on that record.
It's so dope. I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
And both records.
That's exactly how it was done.
That's sick. Both records are. Oh wait, tell me what. So wait, it's the reverse. It's a reverse echo thing. How does it work?
Yeah, it was pre Pro Tools. So in order to make a sound that went and that was in time with the track,
right?
You know, we would flip or we would put in a sound right where you wanted it to end, flip the tape over, then hit a delay. You know what I mean? Then it goes.
Was this?
Then you turn the tape back over, and it gives you that effect where it gets louder.
Right. That's sick. And this is occurring to me. So both these records were probably two of the last Pro Tools free records to have much of an impact in the rock world, right?
I think we did Pro Tools. Yeah. We worked in Pro Tools and then through tape into Pro Tools, or through the desk into Pro Tools out to tape or something like that. So.
Oh, is that how? Because I hear some tape effect on the record. Some song starts with zoop. You know what I'm talking about on there? Yeah. So that is tape.
That part must have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd you guys record that album?
Tarkin Studios in Connecticut with Peter Cadis.
And how many days of tracking did you do? And by tracking, I mean the band performing the songs. Or I guess, should I say, did you record them live? Was it fast? Was the process like?
Yeah, we recorded everything there in the studio. I think that was, Peter Cadis, one of these very, very passionate engineers, and had his like a new, fresh space that he just built. Mm-hmm. And he really wanted to, go in. And Sam was always very keen on, production like that. Mm-hmm. For like miking setups and acoustics, etc. We probably did 2 to 3 days per track even back then. Wow. Yeah.
And would it be full band playing at the same time?
Yeah, I think. And then if you can get the bass and the drums together, just keep that, and then overdub guitars. But if you keep the guitars, better.
How did you get hooked up with Peter?
Sam was working with another band, a few bands prior, and he had done some recording. I think with Peter was like, "This dude's."
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
Have you worked with him as well, Britt?
We did a week with him and recorded a track that. Then we got sidetracked and went and worked with back with our old producer. But I went back and listened to the Peter version not too long ago. And it's like, this might be the album.
Oh shit!
It was a song "Finer Feelings" that ended up on "Ga Ga 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 Ga." But yeah, he's really good. And we had a good time out there. It's a good place to get lost in making a record.
Well, that's the thing. It's like a big house in a I don't know how you really describe it's Bridgeport. Like near it's very suburban, near a cemetery, and like one local bar on the corner. So when we were at the height of our partying and real city kids, like going out to that like remote house, like, you know, watching movies on the couch together and like cooking breakfast, I think was a really good energy for us to make our first record.
Peter told me that Carlos hated it there.
Carlos just complained about everything, but I think he actually really liked it. I think there was fun memories, but yeah, Carlos is complaining.
I also want to encourage you guys to ask each other questions because obviously that's always more cooler. But I want to get to the fun part. Either one of you guys could go first. What would you tell yourself now if you could be the ghost of rock future and going back to this time around this Saturday, 20 years ago? These records are coming out.
That's a good question. One I have not thought about. Paul, you got something?
I mean, yeah, I suppose it's nothing that fundamental that I think really would have altered the trajectory of anything. Sure. But I would please say, like, be a little bit more thick-skinned. You know, which is a difficult thing to wish for. If you're sensitive, you just are sensitive. But, you know, I wish I could retroactively give myself that resilience and perspective to be like, it's fine. You know, when critics don't like, for instance.
I'll go one deeper. Have you learned, are there any skill sets that you've learned that you'd be like, you know, here, wait, I'll buy you another beer, young Paul. This is how, here's a thick skin trick. Or is it just deal?
Well, no, that's a great question. I think just like focus on which is fun and just put your energy there. It's a really simple recipe. It's like some shit is good and some is bad, and like look more at the good part. And I feel like leave it at that.
I think for me, the only thing that I ever really look back band-wise and wish I'd done differently was that I just written more songs.
Wow.
You know, it's so easy to get caught up on a day-to-day basis with all of the business of being in a band and sometimes unhealthy personal, you know, I just wish there were more songs there sometimes.
Wow. And
I've written a lot of songs, but I wish I'd written twice.
Jesus Christ, you've written a lot of songs.
Say
but I've been doing it a long time. I wish I'd written twice as many.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's funny. Since all three of us can look back on fucking decades of doing music. Those kind of perspective-y things are sort of, to me, sort of fun right now. You know what I mean? Like, I actually don't, I guess because I'm not totally fucked at this point, I could look back and not be bitter about anything, and I'm certain you guys are the same way. But like, here's one. I was on an airplane and I had a fun conversation with a very, very big time booking agent. And at one point, the big time booking agent just casually mentioned, well, of course, if you're in any way prone to addiction, if you're in a band, you will be an addict that like your second day of tour. they said that about the life thing. And of course, I was like, this guy said it as if he wasn't saying it as a warning or that he was amazed by it. He was just saying it like, sort of like the sky is blue, or you know, like you know, if you climb in tall trees, you might fall out, you know, kind of thing. You know, like except for it was more like if you climb this tall tree, you are guaranteed that you will fall out and crash really hard. You know, like guaranteed. And I was sort of thinking about that because I wonder. It's just this is Britt, to your thing about just like the things that you do when you're in a band that are deemed to be totally fucking normal. You know what I mean? Because, well, you know, it's like I remember my friend Mark Moore, he was a founding member of Cat Power. He was like, you know, if we paid for our drinks, we'd be homeless. you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's totally, it's just really, I don't know. I mean, you guys don't have to speak to this if you don't want to, but it just like kind of occurred to me, all these things that 20 years ago were being, like, I remember Paul seeing y'all in Chicago 20 years ago, and you had already sold out the club, and we were all going out, and I think I told Carlos was on his own trip. I was like, dude, can I just give you advice? Don't be late for the bus, because your band will resent you. you know, like, and just things like, but just even having to give that kind of advice, like, yeah, it's perfectly normal to get so fucking fucked up that you're gonna, miss your.
Wait, was that because he had been late to the bus, or you were just saying?
I think I was just saying because I just sort of had enough perspective to know that that's a thing that happens often. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's often one guy, or one band member or whatever, and
when we talked before Glastonbury, like,
wait, what's that?
Where he slept, one night before a big festival in London. I think it was Glastonbury. we got him up.
You didn't know where he was?
Yeah, well, he partied. We did go back to his hotel. So it's just like, shit, man. We're just got a big show tonight. But we got him. He made it in the end. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a few reasons why, like, someone might say something like that about addiction and tour. I think when you go on the road, you don't have structure. I mean, you have a weird amount of sort of like structure in the sense that the day is always the same shit, but not structure in terms of kind of like how you might like protect yourself from the elements, or even just sort of like navigate your own fate and destiny. It's like every day a new location. It's very, it becomes like, how do I ground my reality in something that's familiar? It's like this struggle every day, which I think equates to kind of like non-structure, or having that same sort of like discombobulating effect. So I feel like you're going to need crutches to cope with that. And if you're someone that uses crutches and then you have an addictive personality, then you're going to overuse your crutches, and voila. Then I also feel like there's probably some correlation between like certain creatives and addictive tendencies, and like the kind of existential crises that lead to drug abuse as well, and yada, yada, yada. So I feel like there's a lot of things that speak to that I have to make the person right, in my opinion. Yeah, they're right.
And I mean, but also like I mean, I was saying about this when I was listening to Turn on the Bright Lights, which is that there's already this world weary drugginess on the first record, which I mean, and I think some people have, I feel like a friend of mine pointed out that, like, if you live in New York, you kind of get to live a touring lifestyle in a certain sort of way where you don't drive. You can really get fucked up a lot more easily, especially back then, because nobody was taking your picture and you didn't have to drive, and so there was that's another sort of thing that I was that struck me about that record, was it already sounded like you guys had not that there was some, having been around the block, that sounded real, that sounded definitely real, but cool. And I guess that was more of city as a playground or something like that. I don't know. Or like, what was it? What was going on with you? Were you bummed out when you made that record, Paul?
Yeah, I was often bummed out. Yeah. Or I think a big component in what makes Interpol is like Daniel has a very like a vibe to his guitar writing that is super melancholy. Like, in fact, like he's even more melancholy, I would say, than I can say. It's like this incredible yearning in all of his chord progressions that just sort of like come straight from the soul. And I
hear that.
I'm the accompaniment to that. So I feel like also what he sort of sparks in me. So when I'm not working with Daniel, I think I'm probably like less, down. But at the same time, I feel like he and I have a real sort of symbiotic complementary spirit in that way, where like his melancholy speaks to me, and my melancholy.
And then you guys have a rockin' ass rhythm section.
Fuck yeah. To keep it up, to keep it a little peppy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so like a counterpoint vibe going on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait! I have the best bunch of fucking questions. Paul, shoot Britt a question. Well, because something you said.
Okay,
just
I was listening to Kill the Moonlight in its entirety, and I listened to Lucifer on the Sofa in its entirety, and yeah, I mean everything you do I think is dope, dude. I really feel like you're
thanks, man.
Super impressive, and I don't know if it's just that like your instincts musically are just so refined that they're kind of like universal, or that you and I are on the wavelength, because I just always like your choices, and I think your lyrics are incredible, and all the choices that the band makes I think are really ultra tasteful.
That means a lot.
Oh, well, cool.
Thank you.
On the new record, fucking Astral Jacket is my jam, dude.
Oh, cool. It's good to hear someone say that. There's not a lot of people that point that one out.
Seriously, bro.
Yeah.
That is my jam. That's an amazing piece of music. Yeah.
Cool.
Is there a lyric
right.
You move like a vine?
No, I don't think so.
That's a good line, though. You can steal it, Paul. It's all yours.
You can have that.
Yeah.
I think it might be.
What is it? Now I can't fucking picture the song.
You're frozen in time. You move like everything's fine. You move like a vine.
Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Into the room softly. You feel it when you hear that sound.
Great song.
Well, thanks, man. And the thing, I've listened to, your album that we're talking about a zillion times, and I listened to it again recently. I think the thing that really stands out to me, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, is that it is such a band album, and like, there are good records that are put together, I would say Kill the Moonlight is a little bit more put together than, pieced together.
Well, it sounds like a band. Kill the Moonlight is like a band putting things together. Right? But I'm following. Go ahead. But
this sounds like the ultimate for me of a band or a band kind of record, a band that makes band records, is Led Zeppelin, where every single element is just so spot on, essential, and the way that they play together is just like you could play the same notes and give it to 4 other people who are maybe even technically better musicians.
Yeah.
But it's just not going to have the same vibe. The way that they played together and the way that you guys were playing together on this album is just, and it's just stunning.
Cool. Thank you.
It holds up. I swear. Give a shout out to my man Sam. It's just so cool. It really holds up. Still to this day, I'm like, it's like, and it's just a dude playing drums, but it sounds really something. Yeah, and because the band is so down for each other, and because the drum parts are actually serving, every note is serving a purpose to support the singer, and then the singer is supporting the guitar player, and then the bass is playing these really rad things that are kind of moving around the whole thing, it really works. It really works. And there's also like this like realness and yearning to the thing that still like really holds up, like that's why I was asking if you were bummed out. Like it really sounds like you're like, working some shit out, as they say, in a way that's very relatable, and in a way, and because the band it buys what you're saying, it becomes this thing that's bigger than the sum of its parts, I would say.
And I think there's like we had a really great cross influence happening. I feel like, I think Sam probably has always worked with me like vocal complement. I think Carlos was focusing more on what Daniel was doing, and then I would actually be influenced by Carlos's note choice that would inform the vocals. So there was all this kind of like symbiotic crisscrossing between us, and I think it just goes down to like feeling. I just always really loved feeling so impressed, like when someone would lock in on their part and just be like, when Sam has his part, you're never like, oh fuck, I wish he would change this or that. It's like, no, once he has found his way, and Carlos was like a frightening genius with his ability to like write shit and play. So I feel like we had kind of like real stealth sophistication from the rhythm section that was like fully like really realized on even the first record, because these two guys are just bonkers. And then I think also Daniel was writing for a long time leading up to it. So I think it just all came together nicely to feel pretty lit.
And how did you all, did you and Daniel know each other from school? I'm sorry to ask this dumb question, but I'm just giving the context of you guys as breathing entities living in New York City. Like, what's the deal at that point?
I finished high school in Mexico City at an international school in Mexico. And then I got into NYU, but before moving to the city, I did a Paris summer abroad program within NYU, and Daniel was doing the summer abroad program with NYU.
Oh, sick. Okay.
So I had my guitar, I was like, had to have my acoustic guitar with me anywhere I went at that point. So I was walking around Paris with my acoustic, and Daniel kind of clocked to that. And over that summer, we knew each other and we hung out like maybe a couple times, but funnily enough, I was actually super bro-y with Alex Kilgore, who was also there, who's the guitar player for Surfboard.
Yeah.
So he and I actually go way back to that same.
That's so
summer.
Crazy.
But Daniel was someone who I like, I respect. He seemed like a cool guy, but we didn't like bro down super hard. And then when I came back to New York City to start my actual, college experience, he came up to me on the street and said, I have a band. You want to come and like see us rehearse sometime? And it wasn't even anything I wasn't looking to be in a band. I was looking to be, I guess, solo. I don't even know what I was doing. But then when I walked into the rehearsal, they're like rocking on PDA, with Carlos in like a monk outfit.
Oh, sick. You're like, these are my people. I have to ask, what kind of songs you were playing on your acoustic guitar whilst traipsing around Paris as a teen?
I mean, my first solo record has a lot of that stuff, kind of like more acoustic-y, kind of,
But who were you copying? Whose song were you playing? Anybody else's songs when you were?
No. But I was probably trying to copy Leonard Cohen, Velvet Underground.
Okay. That stuff.
Neil Young, Cowgirl in the Sand, acoustic, that kind of stuff.
A friend of mine, actually a mentor of mine, was roommates with Leonard Cohen in LA when Leonard Cohen came to LA to kind of get his shit together, I guess, to become to make his first record. And he was already like a well-known poet, cool guy or whatever, but they were roommates. And he said that he would take his acoustic guitar to the UCLA campus. And again, this is a short guy in his 30s would go to the UCLA campus to try out his new songs, and they would work. I'll leave it at that. But he was able to immediately find out that the songs were effective. His roommate told me that.
He was a cool guy.
Yeah, man. But that's I guess I didn't know that you were coming out of a Cohen thing and then joined a rock band.
Yeah, and then I think the way that I sing and everything got just shaped by the music that we were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, that's true, because you have such a distinctive voice. Was that sort of out of being in I've always wanted to ask you this, out of being in a rehearsal room and just sort of figure out tonally what sounds good with the sound that this band has? Does that make sense?
I think characteristics of my voice that I was leaning into, and I think I think also like a visceral kind of like the energy of yelling, I think is also kind of cathartic. And so as you point out, like when you're going through something, I feel like it was also like I had this sense that like if I wasn't in a band sort of yelling, I'd be like breaking shop windows, just kind of, like I had too much energy that I think it was like a very healthy way to get it out. It's like yelling.
Britt, did you know that you had a hot shit record on your hands when you finished that one? Were you confident? Like, did you have any? I mean, I can be honest. Sometimes I'm confident about records that I make, and most of the time I'm like, I don't know, I just made a record and that's what I did. But every once in a while I'm like, oh my god, I feel kind of good about this one. Like as in like people won't hate this, you know.
I felt damn good about it. I thought that if of all the things we'd ever written, the way we would get by had like, if anything was ever gonna like work in the commercial world, maybe that was it.
Right. And
it was the first time that we ever, you know, a lot of firsts happened for us on that record. Like we got on TV a couple times, never that happened before, and it was because of the way everybody wanted to hear The Way We Get By.
How did you find out that song had a life of its own? What was it? Was it the first? It must have been the first single, right? Was it?
Yeah, I guess it was. I mean, yeah, we did a video for it, but we didn't really think it.
Because I mean, because that song took off, and I'm just wondering if there was a sense where you're like, oh shit, this song, you know, I don't know, somebody just called and offered to put it in a movie, or somebody, you know, like what's
that somebody put it on. They put it on the OC, and to this day, I still. People come up to me and say, I've been into you ever since I heard you on the OC, and no other movie or TV show, you know, does that ever happen.
Right. Right.
And we've been in a few of them, but yeah, there's something about that show that like really, it had a lot of people's ear. And just that alone was a huge, you know, boost for us.
Yeah. That took it out of anything that you would have ever expected, I would imagine. Just like yeah. Paul, my girlfriend JR had pointed out, you know, she that at the time she was going to Misshapes a lot when it first started, and she kind of associates Interpol with the Misshapes moment. Do you?
I mean, were they DJing in Annex or in the dark room?
I think they were, because she was like she was just pointing out that like, because when we were listening to the record together, and she was like, you know, like there was a real time and place with Interpol and Misshapes, and it's post September 11th. It's the rise of it, like social media is happening, so you're like young people are starting to find out about, like, say they find out about Interpol, they're like, oh, and I also find out about bands that Interpol likes, and then I could go to this place and actually see these people, you know what I mean? That social media and actually getting together were sort of happening in this way. This is something that she was pointing out. She thought that Misshapes was this kind of magical moment where that was really happening, and she recalls Interpol sort of being around and hearing Interpol songs in that context, and she feels like it was a very, very sort of specific time, you know, and I don't know if any of that resonates with you. I certainly remember it felt very specific in 2002. You know, like things felt a certain way.
I mean, there was a lot of fun stuff going on. I mean, like I remember Liars, Fisher Spooner, TV on the radio was coming up. You know, there was a lot of really good. I mean, that's different scenes than the Misshapes thing, but yeah, I thought that was that to me was like tail end of my partying career as well. So it's all a bit of a blur, but like it was definitely like a thing. I also remember Strokes record at that time was really sort of like defining of a moment.
It was, but it's funny because that record came up when we were listening to it, but it's funny because there's something so yearning and like something, you know, more deep or sad or something like that going on with the Interpol energy versus the Strokes energy. And obviously both of those things were happening around the same time, and having been around for the September 11th thing, I always sort of couch both these, you know, younger bands within the like, okay, everything's changed, you know, everything's changed. And I felt like Interpol, just by coincidence, seemed to really, really sort of get that feel just about right. You know what I mean? As far as how things felt in New York and stuff. But I'm imagining you tracked that record before September 11th, or did you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But like it just, even the band's name all of a sudden had a different context.
We wrote everything on the record before September 11th. We maybe hadn't tracked it though.
Yeah. Like, but there's and just sort of some interesting things. I mean, like sort of at the, like, was Craig Robinson making your suits back then?
Yeah. Well, maybe not for the first record. Shortly thereafter.
I just sort of think of that and Craig, and then all of a sudden Hedy Slimane comes around. You know what I mean? Like I really feel like you guys were sort of kind of innocently and in a really nice way. We're kind of like looking different, looking like the sharp dress, wearing suits and wearing nice clothes and stuff, in a way that was like that felt fresh and was differentiating yourselves in a way that was still somehow inviting. I don't know what it was, but it seems like it really made people psyched and made people want to participate as opposed to feel like you guys were up there or something like that.
That's cool. I think, speaking of the fashion, I think what made that kind of like fun for us is I think we're just like, that it was natural. It was something that we all felt like actually comfortable. It wasn't like, oh, my band is doing this, but I guess I better like get some clothes like this and like wear them awkwardly. I think we all had also like a complimentary appreciation for like a certain type of look that we could all kind of with Lee.
And that's why I'm sort of bouncing back to the misshaped vibe, because that was a thing where everybody really sort of had their own. A lot of these people really did have really nice personal style, and they weren't jerks. They just sort of like could look good, like which just was a, I don't know, it seemed like it was kind of innocent, I mean, it was druggy and all that kind of shit, but it wasn't dark, I don't think, but. Yeah, that's all in there in that record. I feel like.
I think right. I do think up until the first record, things didn't get super dark, like actually dark for me. I think for a couple more years. So at that point,
that's what I mean. No,
like
in general,
starting when it's like age appropriate, to be completely decadent.
Totally. Like it's exactly that, and it catches up pretty quick. But there's that kind of first 4 years of getting rage.
It's not simple. It's like a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of sweat, and just a lot of foam and chaos and stuff in a good kind of way.
I'm gonna pull you in close, gonna wrap you up tight, gonna play with the braids that you came here with tonight. I'm gonna hold your face and toast the snow that fell, because friends don't waste wine when there's words to sell.
I want to say one thing about Britt and the videos, that you are really good at videos. I feel like that's the way we get by as an example. And then I think, are you in a cowboy hat for Wild?
Yeah.
You're good, man. You're good. You're good on cam. And you're good doing the thing in videos.
Oh, that's another one. Thank you very much. Yeah, that I got called out for wearing that cowboy hat.
No.
In Austin.
What?
Like, this guy doesn't wear a cowboy hat, and I do wear a hat. I was like, I didn't buy any clothes for that video. That was all stuff that
was your shit. That was your fucking hat.
All my shit. It was not costume day.
No day is costume day in Britt Daniels' world. This is your shit. God damn it. Were there? Do you look back on those on that? Do you guys remember that year of putting out that record quite well, or is it blurry, or
I remember bits of it. Yeah. No reason why I wouldn't.
Right. And Paul?
I remember a lot of it.
Yeah, no, I remember it all. I mean, pieces of all of it, like very profound memory. We were in a van. We toured the U.S. for Bright Lights in a van, and just kind of getting to all these tiny shows, but that were sold out. Like a house in Milwaukee. There's a bar in a house on Suburban Street, and like the back room is the venue and the stage.
I think I know that house. Yeah.
Oh, dope.
Was that the first tour? Did you guys ever tour before the record came out?
I don't know, because I don't think that far. I don't think we've put that
probably
far.
Not. Out. Yeah.
It was.
And how did you get hooked up with Matador people? I mean, or how did you first meet them?
That is, I guess, basically like Daniel and Sam knew quite a bit about, the indie music industry, be it labels and distributors and yada, yada. I was listening to artists like John Spencer and Cat Power when I was in high school in Mexico, and kind of so knew about Matador, at least Cat Power.
Right.
And then in the early days when Daniel basically was like kind of like essentially managing the band, he sent out demos to a lot of labels. Matador said no, and then we like kept coming back to them after we did some other stuff. So I think we all kind of collectively had our eye on Matador, like that feels like the right label. And then we met Lombardi and the team just kind of connected.
I wonder what made them come around.
I remember I was like recording.
Made them not. What's that?
It was like we did some like new songs and like re-recorded one of the old songs, and I think
Right.
he said he was driving a car fast through like Austria or something, and
Of course.
and I think he brought up Obstacle 2, and I think he maybe even told me the outro of Obstacle 2, and or maybe I inferred the outro of Obstacle 2, because to me that was also like one of the first things that we ever wrote where I was like, this is dope. This is right here. This is some shit.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like also it was like good of Daniel to have the insights, like go back to the label rather than be like, that store closed. He's like,
Right.
They should hear what we're doing now. Like I think you had a very high level kind of like humility to just sort of be like not phased, and he's, if anything, he's very persistent, Daniel.
But that's also about that kind of that's that confidence that you guys had because you believed in what you were doing, you know.
Yeah. How did you link up with Matador?
Gerard was trying to see Johnny Cash one night, couldn't get in to see that show, and then went to the bar that was next door, which was this tiny place called the Blue Flamingo, and we happened to be playing
in Austin.
And he saw in Austin in like '94, I think. And then the next, that was an anti-South by Southwest party, and then the next South by Southwest, he invited us to play on the Matador show, but we weren't signed to Matador. Maybe you were there for that show.
I may have been.
Matt.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. At
the big show with like
Liberty Lunch.
GBV.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Liberty. It wasn't.
This one wasn't Liberty Lunch, but yeah, it was huge. It felt huge.
I remember playing some show with Guy by Voices that felt big in Austin, and hating South by Southwest so much. And that was in the 90s. Yeah. In the 90s, it was fucking unbearable.
Austin was unbearable?
No, or South by Southwest. No, I love Austin. You know, Clay was from San Antonio. My bandmate's from San Antonio. So, but we just couldn't believe how harsh South by Southwest was. It was just, and that's when apparently it was supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
they got a good scam going there.
They sure fucking do. So sick.
They don't pay anybody.
Yeah, but I remember actually. Again, it's funny that it was Spoon and Interpol that those are, I think, really the only two bands that Chris made a point like, check this out. This is fucking, like, they were super psyched. You know what I mean? Like probably because actually they. I mean, especially in the case of Gerard, he found you guys. You know what I mean? Like in a real way. You know. How you guys are touring together for how long?
It's like almost 4 weeks, right?
I think so, man. I just
3.5 weeks.
Fully go where they tell me to go, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's about that.
So what jams? What's going to be the interband jam? What's going to be the?
We're trying to figure that out. Maybe it should be Astral Jacket.
Oh,
dude. And then, or
we have been talking about that.
Yeah.
You got any idea?
Or you could do why don't you do the Wire song, like I should have known better, or something like that, or do some big building paranoid fucking Wire jam. I'm just throwing that in there. Just throwing that in there.
I love the idea of doing a Wire song.
Did
I suggest Wire?
No, I just.
You might have. Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, we've been talking about this, and I think Britt
really?
had all. Yes, Wire. So we talked about covers. Yeah, Wire would be cool. I mean, how many musicians would you envision, Sweeney? Would you see like? What are we talking about? What are we actually doing?
Well, I mean, if you were, that's why I was thinking about a Wire jam, because they have all these elements and stuff like that. You could kind of some sort of crescendo-y thing could be, you know, it's like it's a
everybody
kind of thing. So, you know, or you know, each guy joins as the fucking jam goes or some shit like that. I always like that. You know, I mean, could be that. You know. Or
Yeah,
but also you're definitely gonna have to now that you've invited yourself up on stage to sing a spoon song. Now you get to do that too. So it's kind of it's like it's a double thing. When are you?
All kinds of good ideas.
Yeah. When's are you playing in New York City proper?
No, just
Some bullshit.
just Asbury Park.
yeah.
The
Dude,
Stone Pony summer stage.
so sick. That's so sick.
I've never been to Stone Pony.
Oh, it's cool. Oh,
Yes.
dude, there's the
Yeah.
best. There's a pinball arcade, like a pinball museum, that's got more pinball machines you've ever seen, and it's like right fucking there, like right on the border,
Nice.
right near the Stone Pony. It will blow.
That's
It's
up
called
my alley.
Silver or something or other. You must
All right.
go. I think you like pay an entry fee and then you're in for the for the duration or something like that. It's fucking insane, completely insane.
Cool.
And Lombardi, I'm sure will have food tips and stuff for you guys because there's stuff to do there. There's definitely stuff to do there.
Are you based in Austin
yeah.
still, Britt?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't for a while, but I came back in 2019.
Uh-huh. Were you in New York?
I was in New York in 2018 for like 6 months, but mostly I was in LA. I went to Portland, then I went to LA, and now I'm back in Austin, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, I like being here.
Yeah, Austin's dope.
What's your
And are you?
what's your Panama
You're
deal?
most of the time in Panama, right?
Panama, I've been coming here forever. Like, I have a place on the beach. I learned to surf, and it's just like paradise. Volcano out the back, Pacific out the front. You know?
Nice.
It's like my happy place. That also, like, early on, I think I've been coming down here since like 06, so after Antics. And I was like, I wonder if I could like write music. I wonder if I could engage kind of like this dour, like urban sounding, New York City as a part of Interpol's music. Like, would I still have kind of like juju or mojo to like write stuff? And I found like in the heat and like in the water is super, super conducive to creativity.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's my observation on that. It's a special place.
Small stakes give you blues. If you don't feel taken, or think you've been used. Cause it's alright Friday night to Sunday. It feels alright, keeps your mind on the page. Oh yeah, small stakes ensure you the rhythm and blues. But you don't feel taken and you don't feel abused. Small stakes tell you that there's nothing can do. Can't think big, can't think past one or two.
Why do you think that you guys are still around for 20 years after you made these records? What's keeping it going other than just the raw dollars?
Well, for me, I mean, I really like this is the job I always wanted, and I love making records, and I love being on tour. I love being in a bus and waking up in a new city every morning.
Wow.
With
I'm just into the
Jim,
life,
but with Jim Eno. That's the thing.
Well, why am I doing it with Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm saying there's.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
question.
no. Well, I mean, but I mean it. I mean, it's like 20 years later, you're in a. It's not like that. You're just doing music. You're doing music with your partners. You know what I mean? So.
Well, Jim and I have made a lot of really good records together, and I love playing those songs. And we keep making records that I think are that prove our mettle every time.
Does Jim surprise you consistently?
Jim has a lot of great ideas. Yeah, he does surprise me with ideas, whether they're basic or intricate. Yeah, he does surprise me.
He keeps you off balance reliably, or keeps you on point rather.
We got a good thing going.
Do y'all sort of collaborate on the kind of like the production elements, like the in studio kind of like overdubbery, which I think is also like pretty masterful?
A ton.
That's the two.
Yeah. Yeah, and we usually work with another producer, but yeah, we call it co-production.
I mean, Jim knows his
No.
fucking shit. He was gnarly with knowing his shit in the 90s, as I recall.
Are really like Moonlight. Like, I mean, I listen to it, forgive me, through my laptop speakers, but at least I've got, a point of reference there. But I know from the first time I heard it, like the sound, it's like some fucking, fucking, it's amazing. Like, that sound quality is unbelievable. And the curation of the sounds and stuff. And I can hear it on the new record too. There's some like guitar overdub that sounds like a freight train coming through that's just like going down the neck, but it's like super aggressive and 3D. Yeah, that's your music's very 3D. And I had this.
Yeah, it does. It jumps the fuck out of speakers for sure.
And like using space so beautifully. Like I had this. I told you this, Britt. I think like on another interview. The Kill the Moonlight. My first exposure to it was Sam playing it in the band, and I was asleep in the back, and I kind of like woke up but didn't open my eyes. Listened to like that record in its entirety. In that place where I think your imagination, your brain's ears are like really wide open, like right after sleep.
Right. Yes.
So all of those kind of like sonic textures, just like I feel like they almost reach a deeper level of your brain when you're half asleep, and somehow razor focused at the same time as being kind of like totally not focused on anything else. So really like a very memorable experience to appreciate that sort of like, I don't know why Pet Sounds comes to mind, or like Here Come the Warm Jets, where it's just like this super fucking, just so tasteful and really inspired. So that's my last spiel on Film Moonlight.
That's nice. But Paul, why are you still in a band?
Oh, hey now. I think also, dude, like I love making art. I was going to ask Britt, like I'm surprised to hear that you like the touring part. Is that really, that just kind of works for you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I do love that part.
You're a Texas road dog.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a road dog.
I think there's the temperament thing. I guess it does kind of like, I mean, I feel like it's a great honor and a privilege, and I love the job too. And playing shows fucking rules, and writing records rules, and just being able to be creative and try and improve. Like, I feel like nowhere near out of juice kind of creatively. I feel like really ambitious to like try and do cooler shit and constantly. So yeah, I just like doing it. And I think that fortunately in both of our cases, like you find the right collaborators who are also on that wavelength with you, where the temperaments, like maybe there's like problems, but you don't explode. Ultimately you stay together. And I feel like that's a really key element too, is just like how you get along with your peers in the band.
Yeah, well put.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I wasn't kidding at the top of this, and I'm not kidding at the end of this. It's really an accomplishment to be able to do what you gentlemen have done with your music partners, and what you guys continue to do. And I admire it a great deal, and I think that your fans and future fans do, or will, and your fans do. It's really, really cool. So thanks for your time, and congratulations on 20 years of doing the opposite of sucking.
Hey, it's really good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the flesh. And if by some way I could get down to Asbury Park, I will come. But if not, just fucking call my ass when you're in New York. Anytime.
All right.
Awesome.
All right, boy.
See you guys.
Sounds good.
Lots of love.
Good to see you, Paul.
All right.
See you soon, Britt.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.